Hi everyone, it's Sam, NFTstatistics, and this is your Proof Daily NFT Countdown. Lots to talk about today. Going to talk about NFTFi dropping some coin token points. I don't know what's going on there. Yuga added a little bit more to their lore. Skulls of Luci sold for 75 ETH. Going to give a little bit of my thoughts on when things bottom and how to think about that. Let's get right into it, starting with a quick market overview. Volumes were up a little bit. I guess that's sort of the good news. If you look at where the volume was, largely Mutant Ape Yacht Club. The reason I said sort of the good news is because the reason Mutant Apes did so much volume is because someone put on a pretty aggressive pump and dump ploy in that market. You can see here the price kind of slowly crept higher from 11 to 11.25, really driven by one guy's bidding, and then he dumped 76 all at once. So you get a lot of volume, but it's a pump and dump. That's no fun. In terms of unique buyers, I wanted to show this extended chart today, just give you a different look at the data. This goes all the way back to September 2021, and you can see that unique buyers really are kind of down at the lowest they've ever been, at least going back to then. You know, we were lower before July 2021, and this even includes blurs. So this is really everything across the board. Unique buyers really towards the lows. One thing I thought was kind of interesting is buyer market share. You know, while ETH market share has been 70 to 80% on Blur, buyer market share has actually still been higher on OpenSea. If you look at the left, it's about 74% of unique wallets on OpenSea. You know, why is that? It's because of that chart on the right. The buyers who are spending more than one ETH, if you look at where the real market share is for the higher value transactions, those are mostly on Blur. Blur has about 55% market share of buyers who are spending one ETH over the course of the day. Large cap index down a small bit, but not a whole lot. Not that bad. If you look at the components, Pudgy Penguins were up, VFriends were up, Doodles, Cool Cats, Captains, all a little bit weak. Now, one thing I wanted to dig in on is people are saying, is this the time to buy? When are things going to bottom? And I kind of made this very silly chart, basically says how I think about it. I think like most of the volume, almost all the volume right now is airdrop farmers trading back and forth with each other. As we know, the average punk that is traded on Blur has traded 21 times, right? On Larva Labs, the average punk trades 1.2 times per month. On Blur, it's been 21 times. So all that volume, I think, is just kind of a wash. And the real question is, are we seeing more holders sell than we're seeing real buyers buy? That's kind of the context I think about is, are we getting more new buyers taking stuff out of their airdrop farming pool, or are we seeing more new sellers come in and sell? I think the longer things are in there, things just tend to trend a little bit lower because people are making Blur as they go, so they're willing to take slight losses on their ETH on their trading. But for example, at Mutant Ape Yacht Club, because I think there are kind of interesting things happening here. Are we seeing real buyers step in on Mutant Ape Yacht Club as one example, because I mentioned it earlier? What this looks at is the past 2 weeks. It kind of looks at the wallet profiles of all the big buyers. And the ones in purple there, I think are airdrop farmers, fast traders, mainly because they're buying everything through Blur bids. In the past 3 months, they've sold a ton of Mutant Ape Yacht Club, so I don't get too excited when they buy for a Mutant Ape Yacht Club. Whereas the yellow ones, those are people who don't have a history of selling the project, who haven't been doing tons of airdrop farming, and are probably a little bit more to get excited about. And I think what we're seeing across all these projects, that almost all the net buyers are still airdrop farmers. CloneX is a pretty interesting one to look at as well. When you look at CloneX, you can see there are a lot of buyers, you know, who are really stepping in and sweeping up supply. And, you know, and we've seen the project go up a little bit. The thing that worries me, if you look at the number one player, the number one player is a market manipulator. You know, the number one player has bought 181 clones in just the past 2 weeks that he's net long. And this person has sold about 550 in the past 3 months, you know, has won more than 6,000 bids on Blur. So we know that guy's an airdrop farmer. So I think it's always complex, but I still think like the big buyers continue to be people who, you know, we just know are very short-term in nature. The other side of this is how much new supply is coming in. That kind of looks at the buyers, how much new supply is actually coming in, where long-term holders are dumping into the airdrop farming pool. And this is, you know, Mutant Ape Yacht Club. You can see this is just weekly numbers or rolling weekly. You know, the past week, 150 new ones from people who had, or from NFTs that hadn't been sold for 3 months are entering the pool. You know, so this is kind of the framework I think about, is how many people are bringing it out, how much supply is coming in. It's very tricky to measure, but it is what I think is most important. There are a bunch of flaws in this. One, you know, a lot of farmers have sell wallets. So some of these buyers look like they're here for the long term because they generally just dump it to other wallets to do the selling for them. Another is that, you know, I look at how much of these buys are done through bids, you know, because I think that's where the real farming happens. Well, a lot of manipulators, I saw this pump into my Mutant Ape Yacht Club. The guys who want to build the bids often just go and buy a bunch of NFTs to give the illusion of demand. So there's a little bit of that. Also, when if you look at people who've sold, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to sell in the past. So maybe people traded for a while and now want to be long-term holders. So maybe that could be a little bit off. And then the other thing is that it's increasingly common for a lot of these big kind of bots and big airdrop farmers to start new wallets. And the reason for that is they don't want people like me to be tracking what they're doing. Not only because it's annoying, but also because, it means that people who are on the other side of trades are going to see them as more and more predictable. So this is a very difficult thing to measure, but net, what I'm seeing, I tend to think there's a little bit, I don't think we're quite at a stage yet where the real buyers are coming in and sweeping up the supply, which is a real reason, one of the reasons that prices just have steadily gone down. DGODs is kind of an interesting one. We've had 3 sweeps of 20 or more DGODs over the past week. And still the floor price has kind of crept lower, since they got onto ETH from 11 to 7.5. And I think that's just because we are seeing more real sellers than real buyers, regardless of all the volume that's happening in between. Moving on to other prices, mid-cap index, largely flat. We were flat. Some strength in a kid called Beast and Chimpers NFTs, weakness in Kumpai Pandas. I don't get too excited about this strength because if you look at a longer term chart, when these prices get lower, a 15% up move isn't that huge a deal. Here you can see it on Chimpers. Here you can see it on a kid called Beast. These moves are just kind of bringing back a little bit of the losses that we've seen so far. In terms of our projects, not a whole lot of movement. 3 projects to 10 ETH or more of volume. A Gazer sold for 14.5 ETH. That's above. We saw 2 sales at 10 ETH. So seeing a 14.5 ETH sale is pretty cool. There was a 6.25 ETH sale from Meridian. That is well below the floor, which has been around 7.5. This piece on the lower left, I say top R projects, this is actually a grail, one of the grails from Proof. And this is one by Tyler Hobbs, sold for 3 ETH. That image is called Wall. Now I want to include this one on the lower right. This is from the Federation AI drop that happened a couple weeks ago. This is from that pink is the most useless color project. They had a sale for 1.2 ETH. Really cool AI work there. Post photography work. So awesome to see that. Second thing to talk about, let's talk about this NFTFi airdrop. Here's the tweet from NFTFi. Basically said that they're launching NFTFi rewards, a loyalty program for NFT lovers. I'll give you a bit of the details of what they're launching with this reward program. But first, one of the interesting thing that's happening is even though volumes have cratered in terms of ETH volume, even though users have gone down, if you look at this chart here, NFTFi lending, despite this, NFTFi lending has actually stayed pretty high. This is their platform volume. So you can see we're still above 10,000 ETH of lending per month going on recently. A little bit about this drop. Basically, borrowers and lenders earn points. Pretty straightforward. They don't say that these points are a coin or a token, but they do say that they are planned to be redeemable for blockchain tokens at a later point in time. They also say that you must not be American to be eligible, and that's kind of the giveaway. If you see, we saw that Blur did this, we saw that Bored Ape Yacht Club did this with ApeCoin. It's just to stay within regulations, make you check a box that say you're not in the USA. Even if you're in Colorado like I am, you still got to check that box. They say you must start a loan by May 15th for these to be OG points. And then after that, season 1 is going to start. So I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting to see. I think a lot of people are seeing how much Blur's token stimulated demand for their platform and created activity. So it's not too surprising to see NFTFi doing this as well. Third thing to talk about is that Yuga gave a little bit of announcement for their lands, updated some information there. Basically said that environment tiers matter in their Lord of the Mara game. I think that's what LOTM stands for. An environment tier dictates the number of workers, Kodas, Kodamara, Farmer Mara, Hunter Mara, that you can allocate to an other deed. What are they talking about here? Good question. If you look at the other side traits that are on the other side, they have all these different tiers, resource tiers, environment tiers, all these different things. One of those is environment tier. And that one gives you a rating of 1 to 5. And that's been on these lands for a while. What they're basically saying is depending on what number that is, that's how many of these farmers or hunters that you can put on that other deed land. Now, why do you want to put hunters and farmers on other deed land? We don't really know yet. I think that there's a whole lot going on here that, they're building out the game, but no one's playing it. So I think it is a little bit hard to fully understand what's going on. but I'm sure we'll get more visibility as things move on. Again, this specifically relates to hunters and gatherers and enchanters. I think it's very hard to follow. I think we just kind of got to get this game started, get people playing, and then it's all going to make a lot more sense. I put in a couple tweets. I tweeted about this, asking my followers, what's going on here? Here are a couple things that they said. One person said, probably like workers from StarCraft. Maybe that means something to you. I don't know. Okay. In terms of prices, I always like to talk about prices. Vessel prices rose on the back of this news, went from about 0.27 to 0.35. We've seen a little bit of weakness, giving that back today. Last thing to talk about, let's talk about a couple notable sales. Mad Lads. We talked about Mad Lads yesterday. Love Mad Lads. I don't know them, but I still love them. You had a sale for 3,420 Solana. That's about 40 ETH. Crazy. Just this thing really escalating. Pink hair too. Kind of dope. Other sale, Skulls of Luci. One sold for 75 ETH. For those of you who don't remember, Skulls of Luci is a Sam Spratt project. Sam is one of the most successful one of one artists in the game right now. He's had sales above 150 ETH, and he started this project, Skulls of Luci, basically just gifted them to his friends. There were 50 of them. This group of people got together in New York, started to really kind of establish what it meant to have a Skulls of Luci. Very exclusive group, one of the hardest NFTs to get. The buyer here was Bob Lucas, one of the biggest buyers of one art, of generative art right now. And he just, here he tweeted about how excited he was to be part of this and to have a Sam Spratt skull. If you look at the top Skulls of Luci sales, they're not very liquid, but we've had a few sales kind of in that 30 to 70 ETH range. This 75 ETH sale, an all-time high. And then lastly, I want to talk about a one-of-one sale on Super Rare. And All the Noise is Gone by Mia Novakova, sold for 2.5 ETH. I think this work is just really fun and imaginative and kind of dreamy. You can see this theme of this window in the background. If you look at a couple others that have sold on this project, you can see they also have those windows in the background. But these two sold for 2 ETH, so this new one was an all-time high. Here the artist says, thrilled to have Ruben Wu as a collector of this piece. He was the buyer, one of the very first to support and guide me in this space. So it is great to have him appreciate my art. I love to see that. I love to see the buyer and the seller connect like that. A little bit about Mia. She doesn't say a whole lot on her page. She says she's a visual artist and pale driver from Eastern Europe. I believe she's from Bulgaria. And she also tweeted this, which I thought was kind of cool. I can envision she wants to turn these pieces into printed large pieces on large format. And a lot of what she's doing with these NFT sales is raising money so she can do a physical solo exhibition. So that's pretty awesome to see that this money's going to a good cause, getting her a chance to print these pieces, do an exhibition, and it really just is cool art. So congrats to her for that sale. That's all from me today. There was a lot in there today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Give us a like if you like it below. Give us a comment. Tell us what you think, how we can do better. Subscribe to the channel. We'll be back tomorrow and every weekday with another show. Have a great day.